we're listening to what they have to say. There has been a shift in women's college basketball in particular. Players are not waiting for coaches. They are not waiting for the media. They are speaking for themselves, raw, direct, with no filters. And today we are diving in to three stories, three players who decided to take to the mic and take to an interview and tell their side of things. For Kiyomi McMiller, she's talking about transferring out of Rutgers and betting big on herself at Penn State. For Flau'jae Johnson, she's telling us why she decided to stay at LSU, making it clear that she has certain expectations for next season. And for Malaji Fulwale, the story that just keeps continuing. She set the record straight after her shocking transfer announcement and maybe hinting on TikTok at what is next for her. So, if you care about the game, you care about what specifically players have to say in their own words. So, let's get to it. All right? Let's get to these stories. And first, let's actually start off with Kiyomi McMiller. All right, because Kiyomi McMiller is, I would say, one of the most electrifying and possibly polarizing players in college basketball. Kiyomi McMiller has fantastic handles, fantastic flair, and this past season, it was just a whole lot of a lot. When Kiyomi McMiller was at her best, she was killing, right? She was absolutely someone who was making buckets for Rutgers. She was, I would say, probably the best player on Rutgers. This past season, she averaged 18.7 points a game, 4.7 rebounds a game, 3 assists a game. However, she wasn't on the court all the time because there were games that she did not play in. She only played in 21 of Rutgers games this year, and there was a whole lot of stuff that was happening. She didn't play in as many games. She posted about her coach on social media. People were talking about what in the world is going on at Rutgers, and now she is gone. Kiyomi McMiller hit the transfer portal and kind of shocked people by landing at Penn State, a team that was worse than Rutgers this past year. Like, Penn State was trash. Also, Penn State basically lost their entire roster. So, what is the story? Why in the world did Kiyomi McMiller choose to leave, especially for a team that's actually worse than Rutgers? Well, let's hear it specifically from Kiyomi McMiller. Because, again, players' words. Players have to share their opinions in their own words. So we're going to get to it. So, first, I do want to give a huge shout out to Brandon Robinson, Scoop B, for writing an article where he actually had an interview with Kiyomi McMiller and he wrote about it. So shout out to him. He is the person who has the scoop on this, and his article is an article that I reference quite a bit in this story. So right now I'm gonna drop a link to his story in the comments. All right, so I just dropped the link to Scoop B's story about Kiyomi McMiller, but we're gonna go through it as well. But again, highly recommend you all check out the article. Okay, so let's get into Kiyomi McMiller and what she had to say in this interview, because what she said was very, very interesting. All right, so Kiyomi McMiller said that she wants to win. In the recent interview with Scoop B, Kiyomi said, "I am a very aggressive person when it comes to winning. I'll say I want to win straight off the bat, and I feel like that wasn't the same for everybody else at Rutgers." And it's like, okay, interesting. She said everybody did not come to win or want to win or show that they wanted to win. And I came in every day showing that I wanted to do that. So again, part of the disconnect, according to Kiyomi McMiller, was her drive to win at Rutgers. And basically she's saying that everybody else at Rutgers was not on her same level when it came to winning. All right, because again, when it comes to winning, I would say I am a very aggressive person, and I'll say I want to win straight off the bat, and I feel like that wasn't the same for everybody else. Everybody didn't come to win or want to win or show that they wanted to win, and I came in every day showing that I wanted to do that. And so, okay, interesting, interesting from Kiyomi McMiller. And she said she walked into practice every day with intensity, with purpose, and she wasn't seeing that same energy replicated around her. She even admitted that maybe because of that, it kind of rubbed some people the wrong way. Her wanting to win. She said maybe it was intimidating to people to show them how much you want to win and how much you want to get better. So I think that was one of the reasons why stuff didn't go as well as it should have. So, okay. All right. So she wants to win so bad that it caused some strife between her and everybody else at Rutgers. Maybe that's the reason why stuff didn't go the way that she wanted it to go at Rutgers, because of her just sheer drive to win. Okay. So, with that being said, why Penn State? Why do you make the decision to go to Penn State? Well, she said that she has learned to evaluate. She's learned to evaluate where she goes and not just pick a school for basketball, but pick a place where she would be able to be her full, authentic self. And it begs the question, Kiyomi says she only visited Penn State once, but fell in love with what she calls the realness of head coach Carolyn Kieger. She said just the aggressiveness, the willingness to win, and showing that they want to win just off the recruiting and the conversations and just being around her. And when you meet her, you can feel the vibe. Like, this is real. It's not a front. So this is Kiyomi McMiller talking about the head coach of Penn State, Carolyn Kieger. Like, she's like, hey, this lady is the real deal. And she wants to win really bad. Like, this is really, really her. And she also talked about the fact that she had to get kind of convinced to even go to Penn State. It seemed like a joke. Talked about the idea of not liking sharing a dorm room with sharing dorm room bathrooms, and the fact that the players at Penn State they ended up living out of a dorm, and she said that her dad had to convince her to give the school another look, and that's when she fell in love with the school. And she talked about how it's a beautiful campus and how she is very, very happy with her decision. And it's like, okay, she has chosen Penn State because of the coach, because of the beautiful scenery, and because of the fact that she wants to win. All right.
If you think it could be serious, ask me to call emergency services or someone you trust.
No, Siri. Okay, y'all. Sometimes I don't understand why Siri randomly picks up when I'm like, I don't even know. Excuse that. I don't even know if y'all heard that, but yeah. Anyway. Okay. So she chose Penn State, a school that plays in the Big Ten, which means that she will be playing Rutgers next year. All right. And she's kind of excited about it. She said, I get to compete against and play against the people this past year and just show them and get a second chance or a second opportunity, I guess, to fully showcase who I am and really give them a better impression of who I am. So she's looking forward to. She is absolutely looking forward to having an opportunity to play her former team and be like, she's saying that she's gonna try to show her former team up, right? She is gonna show her former team up, and she's excited about it. She's very, very, very excited about it. But so that is what Kiyomi McMiller had to say. And again, I am very appreciative that we are able to hear directly from players. This is someone who knows that she has something to prove. And she is going to try to prove it next year with Penn State, especially in that game against Rutgers. But here's the deal. Everything Kiyomi McMiller says makes sense in a vacuum. She says she wants to be where she's wanted. Makes sense. She says she wants to compete. Okay, makes sense. She says she wants to win. Okay. And she wants to basically shut people up and show people who she really is. However, there is a disconnect, in my opinion, with what Kiyomi McMiller is saying and the reality of who Penn State is. Because Penn State was an interesting choice. Penn State was the worst team in the Big Ten this past year. When it comes to the standings for the Big Ten, Penn State was at the bottom. All right? Penn State was at the bottom. This is a team that was one of 17. 1 win, 17 losses in conference play this past year. 1 win, 17 losses. Rutgers, they at least won 3 games in conference play. Rutgers was 3 of 15 in conference play. All right? So there was a lot of talk about winning. And absolutely, players want to win. Of course, you're playing to win, right? You're not just playing for cardio. You're playing to win. However, for all the talk about winning and how Rutgers just wasn't on your level when it comes to winning, and then you go to a team that won less than the team you was on, is interesting, right? In conference play, Penn State was 1 of 17. Overall, Penn State was 10 of 19 on the season. Rutgers, in conference play, 3 of 15. And overall, they were 13 and 20 on the season. Again, there is a bit of a disconnect that I don't totally understand for Kiyomi McMiller. And not only do we look at the fact that that Penn State was a team that lost a lot, right? So they're not actually winners, right? But also think about the fact that the majority of Penn State's players have left the team. 9 players on Penn State. 9 players on Penn State have left in the transfer portal this year. 9 players have recently left. Technically 8. 9 players entered the transfer portal. 8 of those players have found a new squad. There was 1 player in Mariah Murray who withdrew she withdrew from the transfer portal. So 9 players entered the portal. 8 players found a new team. 1 player, Mariah Murray, withdrew. Interesting. So there. I am interested to see what Kiyomi McMiller does next year. Again, as I said, she is a talented player. She is. However, all the talk about winning doesn't totally make sense for Penn State. And so we'll leave it at that. You all can, again, read the article where Kiyomi McMiller has that interview and make up your own mind about what you think about it. I don't think Penn State is going to do a ton of winning next year. I don't think that this is going to be like a massive transformation. Now, I could absolutely be wrong, and if I am wrong, I will absolutely own it because I am cool with being wrong. But what I do on this channel is I promise you, I will always tell you what I actually think. I will give you all as much information as I possibly can, and I will tell you what I actually think, and we'll see what happens. All right, we will see how it all kind of shakes out. I don't, but again, there is a disconnect that I just don't really understand. Okay. All right, so let's get to, I just want to get to a couple of y'all comments, and then we will move on. Eric says, red flag vibes for the coach / Penn State. I haven't paid that much attention to Penn State this past year, so I'm not exactly sure, but I mean, clearly from the amount of people entering the transfer portal and their record, clearly they I don't know. something is awry there for sure. Grace by God says, I agree, Quita. It doesn't make sense, especially if she truly wants to win. She ended up at a program that's worse than the one she walked away from. Yeah, I don't get it. I really don't. Shay says, come on, let's get to 200. Let's get the likes up. Yes, hit that like button. Hit that like button. That really does help the channel out a whole lot. Thank you. Nancy is saying, I hope the NCAA will start to limit those transfers transfers every year. Eventually, something has to be done. Like now, because here's the deal: like, no problem. Like, if a player wants to transfer, I do think eventually there's going to have to be a cap. Like, the idea possibly of a player in 4 years playing for 4 different schools, that's going to be a reality in the NCAA if no one does anything about it. All right, I think that there's going to have to be eventually be some sort of cap or something. Now, again, maybe it's like you can transfer and play right away 2 times. You know, maybe it's 2 times you can transfer and play right away, and then if you want to transfer a 3rd time, you have to wait a year. Maybe it's something like that where you still are allowing players the flexibility to leave if truly it's a bad situation, but that way at the end of 4 years they're only possibly at a max playing at 3 schools instead of 4. You know, I think if we can limit that possibility from instead of transferring at the end of every season and going to a brand new school the next year, if we can make it just 3 schools instead of 4, maybe that's a win. But I think eventually something has to happen. Okay.